Welcome to In the Spotlight. I'm your host, Tony Stone. This podcast shines a light on the origins, struggles, and ultimate success stories of business leaders, entrepreneurs, realtors, and more. It is the goal with each broadcast that with the hope of something shared, it will help to sow a seed to shine a light on your path to success. Welcome to the show, everyone. Our guest today is Kim Dice. She has been in real estate since earning her license 2 decades ago. After a hiatus to raise her 3 sons and teach middle school special education, she returned to the industry in 2019 with Keller Williams Bluegrass Realty. In 2021, she joined eXp Realty, where she now runs a relationship and referral-based business serving clients across central Kentucky and southwest Florida. For Kim, real estate isn't just about transactions. It's about helping people navigate life's chapters with someone they trust by their side. Kim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Finally, we're here.
Finally, it has been a chore, but we're going to get it. We're going to get it. This is going to be so good. I've been looking so forward to it. So thank you so much for being on today.
Awesome. I'm happy
Let's
to
jump
do it.
right in. Let's jump right in. I spoke a little bit about your beginnings, but I always like to hear from our guests. When did you begin and where did you begin in the business of real estate?
2006, I got my license because Mark and his family were starting to build numerous duplexes there in Mount Sterling, Pines on Main, when Pines on Main was brand new. And
Okay.
he thought it would be a good idea, maybe get your real estate license instead of paying another realtor, we could pay you. That's what lit the fire. I successfully got my license later that year. Did that for about 4 years, I think, Tony. I'd have to go back and look because I can't remember exactly. But I know right after the big real estate bust, I put them in escrow and decided I wanted to find a schedule because I had 3 boys that were very active and I wanted to get a job doing something where I could work their schedule. So
Right.
a friend of mine, Tanya Witt, I don't know if you know her, she worked at the McNabb Middle School, needed somebody in a particular classroom. Little did I know it was a behavior classroom. And I remember her to this day telling me, you raise boys, you would be good in here. And I had a room full of boys with behavior issues, but I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And ended up going back to school, getting my degree and taught special education for several years until 2019. I decided just some family things happened. We moved to Georgetown and I decided I'm pulling my license back out because I enjoyed that. And the market was shaping to be better than it was when I went into escrow.
Sure.
And it's
Wow.
been a blast.
And that has been 20 years ago. And since you started in 2006 and you stepped away, but you came back in 2019. What did the industry look like when you returned and what had to change about your approach?
Everything. When I left in Mount Sterling, I was with a small brokerage, what I would call boutique brokerage now.
Hey, thank you so much for stopping by the broadcast today. I certainly hope that you are enjoying the show. And don't forget now, you can like, share, comment, and even subscribe and download. And also, while you're here, hit that little bell up there in the right-hand corner to set your notifications so that you'll be notified every time a new episode airs, all right? I certainly appreciate it again. Thank you so very much. Now let's get back to the broadcast.
Caswell Pruitt, they're not in business anymore. All the listings were printed in a magazine and the different real estate companies would take their little stands and their books and drop them off at businesses for people to pick up. And that's how buyers and sellers would look at their listings, their house in a black and white photo in a magazine.
Right.
And you carried it around and we took a Sharpie and we marked it out if it was sold or if it was pending. It's crazy different. When I came back in 2019, I realized, technology ran off and left me in the dust. So there was a lot to learn as far as real estate is concerned. And I quickly learned I probably needed to be with a bigger franchise company like Keller Williams, which is where I started, to get myself caught up with technology because they have a great training program. I will never knock that, even though I'm not with Keller anymore.
Right.
And that helped me get my feet wet, get my bearings technology wise, because we didn't grow up in that generation.
We didn't. And I just had that conversation on one of the recent episodes that, kids today are born with technology. They get cell phones and iPads at a real young age. And we had pen and paper. And there's much to be said about it. I still write things down, and a lot of it is because my memory's not where it used to be. However, that's the way that we learned. That was the generation that we learned, was to take notes, write things down, use pen and paper, and it has evolved. And I will say this: the AI tools and the things that are available to us, in not just in our business but any business today, if someone's not using it, you are falling behind, because it makes life a whole lot more simpler, and it's not as hard as you think, if you just apply yourself a little bit.
Right. Right.
Right.
I'm guilty of using some AI now. I'm starting to learn. I think that actually I'm on a training later today. There's much more that we could be doing if you
Sure.
open your mind up to it. But on the flip side of that, because I am old school, I have my legal pad with me right now. I worry about using AI too much because that's taking a job probably somewhere down the road from some person.
It
So
could
I
be.
have mixed emotions about that.
Right. Well, and I'm with you there. I agree. That there is a place for everything, but I think the basic fundamentals of any business and in life are going to be hard to replace by anything. So, well, I want to move on. This is a very interesting question, but it's something that I feel like, you being a teacher and being in that background and having that uh, day-to-day interaction with not only children but with adults, how has that background shaped how you communicate and advocate with your clients today?
Personally, you and I have talked about this on a couple of meetings that we've had. Don't count myself as being in the sales business. I'm in the relationship business, and I learned through working with my special education students, you have to build a relationship with them. They have to trust you immensely.
Hmm.
You have to have that rapport. And once that rapport is there, then you could get them to work for you. It's no different in real estate. You've got to build the relationship first. This is not, in my opinion, for me and the way I run my business, it is not a sales business to me. It is a relationship business. Actually, on the way here, doing this, trying to get this going, I had a person who I used to teach with. She was an aide. I ended up selling them a new house in Georgetown 5 years ago. And she called me on the way here and she's like, seen the pictures of the grandbaby, blah, 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 just catching up on life. She's like, hey, I'm thinking about selling and you're my realtor. So that's
Yeah.
been 5 years, but those relationships stay. They become my friends. Everybody that I sell a house to becomes a friend. Some are like family. I just closed on a $900,000 deal last week and I call them kids because they're my oldest kid's age. I told him, you're my fourth boy. He's my fourth boy. He was my first text message on Mother's Day telling me happy Mother's Day.
Well,
But
that's awesome.
that is how my business is run.
Yeah, that is awesome that you can develop those types of relationships to where folks just automatically think of you when they decide, I think I'm going to make a move and make some kind of transition in my life, irregardless of what it is.
Can't be
And you
commission
talk.
breath.
I'm sorry.
I said, you cannot be commission breath. There's so many out there that just the commission. It's all about the commission. Make the commission, move
Sure.
on. That's just not who I
Right,
am.
right, and I think it for me, I think it puts a bad mark on those of us who are trying to build relationships. For folks who are just interested in popping a sign in the ground, getting a commission check, and then moving on, because there's so much more to be learned about one another and to be shared with one
Sure.
another
Yeah.
than just that commission check. But keeping in the theme of this relationship building and how you've built your business through relationships and referrals rather than lead generation heavy. Walk us through how you actually build that pipeline. What did the first year or two look like when you got back in to real estate?
When I first got in, which you and I have discussed this, actually, my son is in the next room. He just got his license. I've had this conversation with him. I've got another new agent I just signed on 2 weeks ago. She's in there. When I first got in, I was recommended by Tori Klinkenbeard. She was wonderful. She recommended that I get on a team because most of your team setups are going to have some type of lead program they're purchasing or they have access to. So when I first got in, they had leads that they fed us. So it's harder now because it's harder and it's more expensive to get those leads from these outside companies, Zillow, Realtor.com, whomever you're getting them from. But when I first started, that is how I started. So that first 2019, I think I had 2 sales. I got back in August. I had 2 sales by the end of that year. Both of them came through a realtor.com lead from that team that I put myself on. But once you make those sales, because I will tell you, my very first sale, it's so funny. In 2019, it was a couple. They were married. They have since split, but I have sold them 4 more properties. And she just contacted me 2 days ago. One of them, she just got pre approved. She's ready to buy again. So that'll be 5 deals on that one client. But that
Wow.
did come from a lead. So I do see that having a lead source in the very beginning helps you build. But what I recommended to you, what I recommended to Tori, who's sitting in the next room, go through your contacts. You got to make a list. You got to create a database. I don't care if it's our friends from high school, friends from college, friends from when you played music, friends of Alicia's, whatever it may be. You make a complete list. Every part of your life, whether it's church, you're at the clubs playing music, anybody that you encounter on a regular basis, get their name, get their phone number, and try to get an email from them. And that starts your database. And then once you've got a database, you have to touch that database and you have to touch it frequently. So as you and I have discussed before, like I'm sending text messages to my people, I'm making phone calls, I'm sending letters, I'm sending handwritten note cards because like you, I still like the pen and paper. I write handwritten
Yes.
note cards. I write letters. And I think those touches are uber important. I think that is the best thing you can do is make sure you're not a hidden agent. And that was an issue for me because it was in my head, a self-confidence issue about putting myself out here on video. And I called myself a secret agent. You can't be a secret agent. You got to let everybody you know. And you've done great. We had that meeting and we talked about getting on video and you've been all over video, doing your traveling across the state and showing things. You have to do that. You have to let people know, hey, I'm in the business to help you and your family, your loved one, your friend, whatever the case may be, to help you find a property that's good for you in the situation you're in. Plus, one that's going to be good for you to resell when life changes and you need to resell.
Mm.
Because the last thing you want to do is sell somebody something that they're not going to be able to resell. So, and I think once you tell somebody like, hey, I think you need to really think about this because resell down the line, if you're backed up to I-75, super noisy and there's no sign of them putting up a fence to block out noise, that
Right.
could hinder you reselling. So when you show them, hey, I'm not just trying to sell them any old house. I'm really considering what their future is going to look like. That builds trust. And that is your
Yes.
number one thing you need. But don't be a
Yes.
secret agent. You got to let everybody know, hey, I'm in the business to help you find your next move.
And that's good stuff. And I'm sure that's probably difficult telling someone, I don't think this is what you need to do at this time. This is going to affect you in the long term if you ever decide this is not your forever home and you're going to resell. This is going to hurt you. So, that might slow the process down of getting a close and ultimately affecting
Yeah,
a
it
paycheck.
does. It does. That happened with me. And the young guy that I said is like my fourth son, there were so many houses that he was ready to pull the trigger on. And all I did, and I don't tell them don't buy it because I don't want to have that much power. I just make them step back. I'm like, okay, let's evaluate this. Let's write the pros. Let's write the cons.
Right.
What do you think is going to happen later when the market is not as crazy and I-75 is in your backyard? When it's a buyer's market, how do you think this property is going to be perceived? And it just took him to calm down, think about it, write that down. Not necessarily me telling him, no, you shouldn't buy this house, but
Right.
just like teaching, we have to show them all the red flags or all the things that we think are going to affect them in their future. In good conscience, I have to do that.
Yeah, and that's great. That's great. That shows you're committed to being more than just a real estate agent. You're committed to being that person in their life that's going to be an expert, that's going to be a guide, and have their best interest at heart, which we should always strive to do. So that's great stuff, Kim. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let's talk about two markets because you work in two markets and serve two markets across Central Kentucky and Southwest Florida. What's your strategy for staying sharp on the local trends and the pricing and the inventory of those markets? What kind of strategy do you use to stay top of mind there?
I don't know if it's strategy or insanity because I'm running nonstop. I'm coming back and forth nonstop. Originally, when I first did it, I will be 100% honest with you. When I first did it, my oldest child and his new wife lived there. I had a reason because I wanted to see my kids. I'm very involved in my kids' lives.
Right.
If my child was there. Well, I rented a home down there. I started loving it. I love being able to refresh myself from running here 18 hours a day. And then Tanner moved on me. He moved to North Carolina, but guess what? I love it. I've sold a couple of houses down there. I've made some great agent relationships down there. So now if I can't get on an Allegiant flight and get there to help, I have an agent partner with EXP that's down there. Actually, I have two now that's down there, and we work on a referral basis. But eventually, I will semi retire there, whether I'm a full blown 6 months and 6 months. This is 10 years down the road because I love what I do and it makes me
Yeah.
feel alive and I feel young. So, but eventually, when I get to that point, I'll have a little bit of a business going down there. And I'll tell you, the two sales that I have made down there, they're clients that I had in Lexington.
Okay.
They
Okay.
are Lexington clients and they decided they wanted to retire and they love the area that I'm in, which is the Sarasota County area. And it just kind of worked out. And I've got a buyer down there that I just got referred to me from Bob and Blair Sophia here in Lexington, one of their
Okay.
sellers in Lexington. And they referred her to me down there. And we've become friends because that's what I do, build relationships. And now I'll be helping Elizabeth and Jeremy find a home in Bradenton area. So that's how Florida, I'm not working it hard like I am Kentucky. It became more so an avenue for me to get down there and see my kid, plus
Right.
start to get my foot in the market for when I want to semi retire. But it's turned pretty well because I've gotten a couple of deals already this year down there.
Well, it sounds like you've already established what we were talking about, those relationships,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
with other real estate agents that
Yeah.
you can partner with and having
Yes.
those great partnerships because it takes a village. We can't do
Yes.
this on our own, regardless any business you're doing, whether it be real estate or whatever. You have to have good partners around you to be successful. Would you agree?
100%. It is a very much peer. You need peers that you can rely on and you need to be there for also. And I have those. I have a lady that sells in Georgetown who's now feels like she's a little sister to me. But if I'm in Florida doing something and I need her, she'll go. Or if she's gone on a baseball tournament with her kids, she needs something, I go. And you have to have that in this because it is a lonely business if you're not in an office like you are. But
Right.
where I'm at EXP, I'm not in an office. So it can get lonely.
Right, right. I can see that. I can see that, but I'm sure you have a great support team. You mentioned Bob,
Yeah.
Sophia there, and
Yeah.
I've gotten to see him across social media. I don't know him per se, but he seems to be a very good person. So I really admire the business that he has started there. All right, well, let's move right along. Let's talk about because you've certainly helped me a lot. You've talked to me a lot about the real estate business of real estate, getting started in real estate, coming in, and just a little disclaimer and throw it out there. We grew up in the same hometown.
Yeah.
You're my wife's age, and your
Yes.
brother and I are actually the same age, and we graduated high school together, just a
Yeah.
couple of years ago. I mean, it
Yeah.
hasn't been
Right.
that long. It hasn't been that long ago, but we have that connection there. And so certainly when I got into the business of real estate, I reached out to you for your input, and you were so kind to share your time and to share what's worked for you and what hasn't worked for you. So let's talk about that. For agents who feel stuck chasing cold leads, what would you tell them about making the shift to the referral driven model that you work on today?
Well, it's key. You've got to make relationships with agents. Reach out to all the agents, especially you're in an office where there are, I don't know how many agents are over there, but I know there's several dozen agents in your office.
Yeah.
You need to reach out to every one of them and say, "Hey, I'm brand new. I'm just starting out. If you need a showing agent, I'd love to be your person." And you need to do that regardless of brokerage brands. Now, your broker may have something to say about that, but like if I'm in Florida and I get in a bind and Brittany or Trey or Tori cannot help me, you're on my list. I'm going to call you. Hey, Tony, do you want to do this showing for me? I'll give you a percentage. You
Okay.
got to have relationships like that. And you need
Yeah.
to, as a new agent, and that's what I'll tell these guys in here when I get off this and go train with them, you need to build a list of agents and you show up when they need you to do something for them. And once you've showed up that first time and you've helped them when they're in a bind, you're going to be on their list. And eventually that gets you into that, hey, Tony, I need you to do something for me. I'll give you a referral fee. And that referral fee for doing just opening the door, because I'm going to handle most of the other paperwork
Right.
and That's good money. I
Yeah,
give
it
you
is.
an example. I just did this. I'm a relationship person, as you know, Darren. I won't say his last name, but if one of my very first sales listings when I joined the team in Georgetown, he was over in Payne's Landing, I think was the subdivision. He had just taken a job for the Toyota Mazda plant down in Alabama. So
Okay.
I cold called him, and you and I know, you both have talked about this. I hate cold calling, but
Yeah.
it is a necessary evil. But he's one of my first cold calls, and I got him just perfectly timed. He's like, "Hey, I like the way you sound." He was from Maysville. He's like, "You're a Montgomery County girl, blah, blah, blah." We did all that. I always have all that fun chatter in the beginning to build that
Right.
rapport. Well, I sold their house for them. They moved to Alabama. I referred him to an agent in Alabama with Keller Williams. I got a referral fee on that. God, I hate this part. His wife passed just about a year
Mm.
ago. He's miserable down there by himself. So he called me up about 8 months ago. Kim, I'm miserable. I got to sell my house. I can't be here now that Tracy's not here. I said, I get it. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to move back to Georgetown area, I believe. I'll need you to help find me a house. So I'm going to find him a house. Well, about 6 months passed. He had already found an agent down there that he wanted to try. He tried it. He called me back, I guess 2 months ago. He had been under contract with her for the listing for about 6 months. She hadn't done anything. And I said, listen, cancel it. Let me find you an agent and let's get started fresh. He canceled it. I got him an agent. He was under contract in 3 weeks. He
Yeah.
needed an agent that was producing. But what that did for me, I'm helping get him back to Kentucky so I can find him a house. I've helped my friend who is mourning, and I got a referral fee to boot out of Alabama that I
Right.
hadn't planned to. But that's 4 touches with one cold call.
Right.
So you got to
And
get on a cold call.
that goes back to your introduction. That's helping people navigate through life's different chapters, however life presents at that time. And that's being there, being compassionate, being empathetic, being there and having a solution
Yeah.
to what is a very dire
It's a tough.
problem and
Yeah.
situation. It's tough.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Well, that's commendable, and I know you do a great job. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Appreciate it.
I want to move into this next question here as I've been looking over it, but I really want to see what your thoughts are here because we talked about the life's chapters, not just transaction. How does that philosophy actually change your strategy in pricing and timing, negotiations?
Give me an example of what you're talking about.
Versus being just someone who's focused on a transaction. How, just like given that situation you just talked about with this person that you're helping them not only get a referral to sell their property, and then you're going to find property for them back here in Kentucky. How does that strategy or that philosophy actually change the way that you look when you're pricing a piece of property or in negotiations and selling a piece of property?
Honestly, Tony, that is not even a strategy. That is just pure relationship. So
Yeah.
he knows I'm there for him if he needs me. And that, I mean, honest, I wish I could tell you, oh, it's this great, glorious strategy. It's not. It's me staying in contact with my people, touching them 4 times a year, minimum. You got to touch them 4 times a year and having that relationship every so often. I send them a text. Hey, how you doing? I know this is a hard day for you. If a holiday hit, just little things that you have to do. You have to let people know I'm thinking about you because you don't know what that person is going through. You don't know if they're not going through a divorce, they're going through financial hard times because the
Right.
economy is tough right now. And the fact that you just reach out and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I saw such and such today and made me think about you. Hope you're doing okay. I'm a big person on that. And that's
Yes.
honestly what my whole business has been built on. I could probably sell more. And honestly, I'm trying to work on that. I need better systems and processes now that I am sponsoring more agents over at EXP and I am in a training group and I am training myself for that
Yes.
because 100% of I don't know what I've sold in the last 5 years, probably 40 million or so. 100% of that in the beginning, the very first year, 18 months probably, when I was on a team, leads. I got leads from that team. Okay. Then I tried buying leads for 6 months. Zillow has priced out to where I'm not paying $1,500 a month for
Right.
2 subpar, really bad leads. Can't do it.
Wow. Wow.
So I had to lean into the leads that I had in the past that I turned into sales and just work that. Constantly touching, constantly talking, texting, sending them a little pop by gift at Christmas. Just
Yeah.
little things. That is my biggest advice I can give anybody that's looking to get their real estate license. My kid who just graduated college, exactly what I told him about a month ago. You need to make a list of all these kids that you've graduated with, that you know they've gone into professional jobs, because if they have a job now, they don't have to have a 2-year work history. They just
Yeah.
have to show proof that they have their college degree, and that will qualify as their 2-year work history. So I told Trey, make a list, reach out to these guys, let them know, hey, I just graduated UK. I just finished real estate school. I've got my license. I would love to help you. And it won't just be me. My mom is going to be helping. And because he's brand new, he's 23 years old.
Yeah.
So, and because of that, he had a young man reach out to him that is working for Papa John's in Louisville. He's looking to buy his first house. So Trey has his first hot lead just by
Yeah.
making that list. You got to work your list.
Well, I tell you, I really appreciate that you are building a culture with those that you are mentoring and buying through your mentoring, sharing your experiences and teaching them how to lay the groundwork, if you will, for the proper business models that's going to set them up for success. Because I'll be honest with you, when you first get into any type of business, you go through the 96 hours of training, you take the test, you learn that information, and it is so good and so needed, but it doesn't teach you about the business of real estate, about the things that you need and the systems you need to set in place. And I'm still relatively new. It's all still new to me, and it's things that I'll do good at some days, and some days I don't do good at.
You're
But
going to do
then again, I have
fabulous.
to kind of evaluate where I am in my process and see what changes I need to make. I've just been doing that this morning and used AI, as we were talking about earlier. I like to use Claude, and Claude's a good fella. He helped Tony build some things that's going to be very useful to help me track some of these things that we were talking about. My sphere of influence, helping me track those touches, helping me, create content because today we have to use social media, right? And I will say this, I love your social media posts. I know you don't like being on camera, but you do an excellent job. Tell me, let's just jump
Hate
into
it.
that real quick while we have a few more minutes. How has the social media helped your business?
Well, honestly, until about 2 weeks ago, I would have told you it hadn't, but I did get somebody, actually two, in about a 10-day span that reached out to me through social media with houses that they're going to end up listing. One is a farm, one is a house in Georgetown. So fingers crossed those come soon. It's got me more people reaching out, asking me questions, which I
Uh-huh.
hope will lead to more in the future. It's a necessary evil. I hate it. I have a self-confidence issue in the way I look. You know this, we've talked about it, but I also know it's necessary. So I forced myself with the help. I have to give her credit. Kimberly Clem. I joined her team for a hot minute for about 3 weeks when I was going to Florida because she was starting a Florida team. And I thought I was going to need those leads down there. I've been doing this independently for too long. I'm not a team girl anymore, but she's great. She is great. She's a great agent. She's the one kept telling me, her and her sister Kendra, you've got to get in front of the camera. You got to get over yourself, get in front of the camera. So I finally decided, I'm nobody. I got to get in front of the camera. Who cares? If they don't like the way I look, they can move on.
Right.
It took a lot, Tony. As you know, it took a lot, but I finally bit the dust and started doing it. Luckily, I did find a VA to help me edit because it's a lot of work.
It is a
What
lot of
you're
work.
doing, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Editing those, I don't have time for that because that's right now, it's not making me money. I hope in the future it will, but I hired a VA to help me part time.
Yeah.
So I do the videos, send them to him. He polishes them, puts all the words and stuff to it, and helps me that way. It is a necessary evil. I don't love it,
A
but it is.
necessary evil. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you, you're being too hard on yourself. You do an excellent job,
Thank you.
sharing the content, being that local expert, showing folks what our beautiful state is, not just in
Yeah.
Lexington or
And we are lucky.
Georgetown. Anyone who has never been to Kentucky, I want to invite you to come to Central Kentucky and just drive. Just drive. You can go anywhere in the world and see. You just had a beautiful trip to Paris, but you know what? When you
I
touched
did.
down and saw the beautiful state of Kentucky, I know you were Glad to be home.
Yeah. Yes, I was. And it is beautiful. I've traveled a lot. There's probably not much in our country that's more beautiful than Central Kentucky and the horse farms and the rolling lands. One area I
Absolutely.
can think of that's close would be up in the Hamptons. That's another beautiful area, totally different area, but we are blessed. And anybody that gets on 75, they're blessed because they get to see just a tiny little glimpse of it. And getting
Yeah,
into Eastern Kentucky to have all that. And honestly, we need to get out there and film more of that and put that on social.
we do. We do. That's a great point. And, the fall of the year is coming soon. Summertime
Yes.
soon be over. And we are blessed to have such a beautiful, beautiful scenery of all the trees and the farms and the horse farms and the gorge. Goodness.
We
And if
should
you do
do a
travel,
collab.
we should. We should do a collaboration. Just don't ask me to climb a tree. I'm too old for that. Okay. Well, I tell you, Kim, it has certainly been a pleasure today having you on. You are so kind, and we had a little
I
bit of
have to tell
challenges.
you, I didn't want to do this in the beginning because I was nervous because of my whole video fear thing, but it was fun. I appreciate it. You do a fabulous job.
Well, thank you. And the whole premise behind this podcast is to take the success stories, the things that others have done along the way to build successful businesses and hope that something said and something shared will sow a seed. It'll help shine a light.
Yeah.
Now, I always say
Yeah.
shine a light on the path to somebody
Yeah.
else's success
Yeah.
because this is my belief. I live by this. Zig Ziglar said it best. He said, you can have anything you want in the world as long as you're willing to help others get what
That's
they
exactly
want.
right. And that's
And
what I
that's
love
what
to
we're
do.
doing here today, Kim. That's what you've done. You have shared, how you started in the business. You got out of the business to do what a lot of people won't do. They won't just be a full-time mom. You've raised 3 fantastic young men who are in business and one who is starting in the business of real estate. And I know that he will do
Yeah,
well.
so excited.
He has a
Literally
great,
just got it today.
awesome, awesome. Congratulations. And I know that he will do well, but you also were willing to, be an educator and teach those who have special needs, who maybe need some little extra attention. And I'm sure that you've done that so gracefully and so well, and you impacted their lives forever,
So I hope so.
forever.
I hope so. I
And
like to help people.
yes, well, real estate, people who are looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate couldn't find a better person than Kim Dice. Kim, in closing, on final note, share with our listeners and our viewers where they can find you if they would like more information about you.
Nice. I'm with eXp Realty. Like he said, Central Kentucky and Southwest Florida. My phone number, 859-398-0205 or kim.dice@exprealty.com.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, I certainly appreciate your time today. This will be coming out soon. I want to thank our listeners and our viewers for being here. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and download. If you could be so kind and leave us a 5-star review and comment in support of this podcast, I would be eternally grateful. Till next time, be blessed.